Welcome back to my channel, SK Movies. If you missed my previous video, it was just a deep dive look into the film Rocky Balboa. Feel free to check that video out if you haven't already. Today, I'll be looking at another film, Inside Man from 2006, directed by accredited filmmaker Spike Lee. Inside Man is a crime drama film with an ensemble cast of Denzel Washington, Clive Owen, Willem Dafoe, Jodie Foster, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Christopher Plummer. Truly a great cast. And just a note, this will be a spoiler-filled analysis of the film. Let's get started. So how does this film begin? A criminal stares down into the camera and announces he is about to commit the perfect bank robbery.
Recently, I planned and set in motion events to execute the perfect bank robbery. That's also the when. As for the why, beyond the obvious financial motivation, it's exceedingly simple. Because I can.
This robber is Dalton Russel, played by actor Clive Owen. He and his team pose as painters and invade a Wall Street bank, take hostages, and start issuing demands. The bank is shut down and the doors are tied. No one can enter or leave. The situation spirals out of control, with more and more people showing up to the scene. Namely, Detective Keith Frazier, played by Denzel Washington, is the hostage negotiator in the situation. However, as the crisis drags on, Frazier realizes that the guys inside don't want their demands met. They're stalling. But why? When the film concludes, you want to watch it over again right then and there and try to pick up on all the new things you missed. Director Spike Lee expertly and distinctly portrays these characters with emotion and layers, not just in the writing, but with the cinematography and direction as well. The characters, mainly Frazier and Russell, are shown contrasting in strength and rage. The director's intent is to show these differences in strength, rage, and physicality between Russell and Frazier, and how their methods will ultimately result in separate outcomes. So let's examine Russell first. He's the bank robber here. When he takes hostages, he forces everyone inside the bank to put on the same jumpsuit, so everyone looks the same. He also forces everyone to put their phones in a bag. He has power over these hostages. He is strong and also rageful. One hostage did not comply with his phone, and he was beaten senselessly. With this, it almost seems like Russell doesn't have a plan at all. Yet there is another scene where he shows compassion. He talks to a child in the bank about video games. What's his plan here? Moreover, there is a moment where Frazier intercepts audio. He thinks he can translate it, but it turns out to actually be an old recording of some speech. It was meant to be fake audio to throw the detectives off. Right there, Russell tricked the detectives and again had power over them. As the film progresses, Detective Frazier tries to meet the demands of Russell, and even when he can meet those demands, Russell still does not budge. The characters in the film and the audience are confused as to what Russell's end goal is. Right there, he has power over everyone. Now let's look at Frazier. Going back to the previous example, when he intercepts the audio, or he can meet the demands that Russell set, Frazier thinks he has power over the other person, but Russell flips it on its head and actually has the upper hand. Because of that, Detective Frazier experiences rage. When he talks with the hostages as they get released, trying to understand more of the story, you can see as time goes on he gets short with people and he's frustrated with the current situation. Now this is a big one here. When Russell is inside the bank, he executes a hostage. This enrages Frazier. Denzel Washington moves abnormally in the scene with the use of a floating dolly shot, a technique that Spike Lee is known for using in his features. Lee said it was meant to show a transportive or alienated feeling with a dissociative, blinding rage. When I first saw that scene, I was very thrown off. I didn't expect to see that, but it was very unique, and it stuck with me. Lastly, when all the hostages are released, chaos ensues since they are all dressed alike. They have no way of knowing who these people really are and who is who. Frazier looks upon the scene with annoyance and frustration. After the hostages were released, the culprit could not be found. More research shows that the hostage execution was actually faked, and the weapons they used were plastic. Once more, this just adds to the overall confusion of the situation. The police force and other detectives think it's too much trouble. Frazier is told to forget about the case and bury it. So how did Russel end out on top? Great question. His opening monologue is shown again at the end of the film, but now it's put in an entirely new context.
Recently, I planned and set in motion events to execute the perfect bank robbery. That's also the when. As for the why, beyond the obvious financial motivation, it's exceedingly simple. Because I can.
Another camera technique is used in this scene. A dolly zoom creates a vertigo effect for the viewer. The camera moves backward while the camera lens zooms in, creating an uneasy feeling of the background and actor somehow moving in a disjointed way. Just as a camera technique was used for Frazier, another technique was used for Russel. We now understand what he meant in the beginning of the film when he said he would pull off the perfect heist. His plan was to purposely confuse people and buy himself time. He wanted to be trapped in that bank to create a hiding place that no one would be able to detect. It took a long while, which was why Frazier was so confused as to what was going on. Russel was able to hide in the bank for a week until the situation blew over. He walks out the door and past Frazier undetected, bumping him on the arm. Not only does he ultimately show strength and power over the detectives and the police force, but the audience too. It isn't until the very final moments of the film that Frazier finally puts everything together and realizes what went down.
Sorry. This is me. Why don't you just walk out the door?
I will. I'm gonna walk out of that door when I'm good and ready.
Son of a bitch.
He knows who walked past him and bumped him on the arm, but now there's no way of being able to catch up with him. Frazier and Russel are both two sides of the same coin. They're both strong, rageful, and physical, but they have their own separate way of doing it. Despite both of them having these attributes, only one came out on top. Russel is the one who wins in the end over the heroic detectives. He knew how to use his strengths and attributes to his advantage, and he's the one who succeeds in the end. That was my analysis of the film Inside Man. It's a film I don't hear people talk about much, but I think it's great. The ending reveal was magnificent. Plus, even if you haven't seen the film yet, you should still watch it. There are subplots and characters in the film that I didn't even mention in this video. It'll be good to check it out and form your own opinion. It has great acting, writing, and cinematography. It's all in service of the story and how it distinctly portrays strength and rage. For now, that wraps up another video here on SK Movies. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and take care.